Please welcome the Provost of the Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, Rabbi Andrea Weiss.
The Havdalah ceremony includes a quote from the book of Esther. La Yehudim haita ora v'simcha v'sason vikar. The Jews had light and gladness, happiness and honor. And then we add, Ken tihiyeh lanu. So may it be for us. Recent events remind us that sometimes darkness can obscure the light. Here in the US and around the globe, the ominous clouds of anti-Semitism have rolled in. Orthodox men in long black coats on the streets of New York know. Those who have discovered swastikas painted on synagogue walls or Jewish graves desecrated in cemeteries know. Every time you walk into your congregation and are greeted by an armed guard, you know that the resurgence of white supremacy and anti-Semitism is real. And in this stage, they are abetted by the internet and made even more dangerous by lax gun laws. There are few more thoughtful and respected experts on this topic than Dr. Deborah Lipstadt, the Dorot Professor of Modern Jewish History and Holocaust Studies at Emory University. For decades, Dr. Deborah Lipstadt has used her powerful voice to combat Holocaust denial. In her new book, Anti-Semitism Here and Now, she helps us understand today's realities at a moment when we need her wisdom most. Please welcome my long-ago Brandeis Bardeen Camp Institute Director and Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion's Honorary Doctorate and Sherut Le'am Award recipient, Dr. Deborah Lipstadt.
That was good. That was good. That was good. Thank you. Jersey City, Pittsburgh, Poway, Hypercacher in Paris, Halle, Crown Heights. The list of names of places comes tripping off our tongues with an easy familiarity. They are, of course, places where Jews have been subjected to murderous attacks. We Jews belong to a strange fraternity. Even those among us who know very little about our history, our tradition, in all its manifestations, know these names, know when Jews are being attacked for being Jews. Today, worldwide, Jews are frightened, they're gobsmacked, shell-shocked at this seemingly sudden reemergence of an age-old hatred. We see anti-Semitism on the right, we see it on the left, we see Islamist anti-Semitism. It is depressing and it is bewildering. Now, some of you may wonder, why am I up here talking about anti-Semitism? Yes, there are events that have happened, but you've just completed the most beautiful Shabbat. You've prayed together, celebrated together, danced, sang, learned, and eaten. Some of you may be thinking, well, you put Lipstadt up in front of a crowd, she's written a book on this, she's been traveling the world talking about it, she goes into automatic pilot. She's one note, that's her note, anti-Semitism. But that's not the case. No, not at all. I speak about it tonight because as much as I worry about what the anti-Semites might do to us, I worry about what we might do to ourselves because of anti-Semitism. Has our concern about anti-Semitism become the leitmotif, the cornerstone of our Jewish identity? Are we focusing on it too much? And I remind you, as I say that I have spent the past 40 years swimming in the sewers of Jew hatred, anti-Semitism, Holocaust denial, and even being on trial, some of you may know that, about that very subject. Yet I ask, maybe we are allowing it to do something to us. Recently, a student of mine came into my office, and I noticed he's a senior, he'd been my student for 4 years. Suddenly, he was wearing a kippah. And there was something in me that wanted to say, hey, what's up with the headgear? But I decided, even though he'd been my student for a while, that wasn't so appropriate. So I said nothing. We talked about his paper, his post-graduation plans, and then as he stood up to leave my office, he turned around and he said to me, look, you notice? I said, oh yeah, what's that about? You haven't worn that before. And he said to me, there have been so many attacks on Jews recently. There's been so much anti-Semitism that I've decided every time there is an anti-Semitic act, I am going to wear my kippah to show the anti-Semites they can't frighten me. I had a slightly different reaction. I smiled. After all, I admire his moxie, what we call chutzpah, his desire to show his identity and not cower in fear. But at the same time, inside, my heart was breaking just a little bit. Because he had allowed the anti-Semites to determine when he felt Jewish. They were controlling his Jewish identity. He had ceded to them the power over his Jewish identity. In short, as some of you have heard me say, and as I write in my book, he was motivated by the oi and not the joy of Jewish life. That's not my Judaism, and I don't want it to be his. No, my Judaism is a Judaism that says on Shabbat, not only do you rest, but everyone in your household rests, irrespective of their particular identity. Even your animals rest. My Judaism offers the same reward, long life, to respect the person who respects their parents, as well as the person who shoos away the mother bird before they take the eggs or the hatchling, so the mother bird heart won't break when she sees her young taken. It's a message that from our parents to the bird, life is precious, life is holy. My Judaism says that when you plow your land with an ox and a cow, you can't do that, because the ox is so much stronger and it might put undue pressure on the cow. And we have to worry about the vulnerable among us, even amongst the animals. My Judaism says, let your land lie fallow every 7 years, because it needs to be renewed and refreshed. And it said it long before Greta Thunberg and the climate change movement. My Judaism thought justice was so and is so important that it didn't say find justice, observe justice, do justice. It said pursue justice. And it didn't say it once. It said it twice. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. My Judaism includes an indelible connection to the Jewish state, to the state of Israel, even when I disagree with its policies, not because it's beleaguered, which it often is, but because it represents the Jewish people's return to agency and power over our own fate. I was glad that my student wanted to proclaim his identity, but as he left my office, I prayed that he build it eventually on a knowledge of what Jews do and not what is done to Jews. In Halle, in Germany, after the Yom Kippur attack, when the police wouldn't let the people inside the building that was serving as a synagogue go out because the situation was still insecure, they continued to pray and to sing. And then when they were evacuated to the hospital, they gathered in the cafeteria and they finished their Yom Kippur prayers and they sang and they danced and then they had a good German beer. It was an affirmation of life in the face of potential death, but for a reinforced door. There could have been a tragedy of unbelievable proportions. Those Jews were sending us a message. Even as others rise up to harm us and try to destroy us, we live as Jews, not because of them, but despite, af al pi, despite them, we revel in our Jewish identity. I closed my recent book, Anti-Semitism Here and Now, with a story. That story now has a postscript, so first the story and then the postscript. A few years ago, as I entered my synagogue in Atlanta, I was walking with two friends of mine, a mother in her 30s and her daughter then about 4.5, 5 years old. And as we entered, there was a guard there. Long before Pittsburgh, we had a guard. And the mother said to her daughter, "Shai Shai, thank the guard for taking care of us." And Shai Shai looked very confused. For her, the synagogue is a happy place. It's her happy place. She comes on Shabbat mornings. Her parents go into the main sanctuary. She peels off to the playground, runs around like a maniac for 45 minutes, then goes into children's services, which at her age are songs and games and snacks. And then the kids all go into the main sanctuary and lead the singing of Adon Olam. And then they get lollipops from the rabbi. Afterwards, they go into the Kiddush, and if you were to walk into a Kiddush with a 4-year-old, to a room with 250 people with a 4 or 5-year-old, you'd say, okay, stay in my eyesight. Maybe you'd be liberal. You wouldn't keep them next to you, but you'd say, but I want to be able to see you. Not here. Everybody knows everyone. Everybody knows whose kids are whom. They run around. They pile their plates up with chips and cookies and olives and snacks, no protein. And then at the end of 3 hours, they go home, having had a wonderful day. And here's her mother saying to her, "Thank the guard for keeping us safe." Here's the postscript. A few weeks ago, Shai Shai now is 7. She and I went to walking to synagogue together, and as we got onto the synagogue grounds, I spotted the guard, who now wears a flak jacket and has a much bigger weapon. And I was about to motion to her, to signal to her to acknowledge him and thank him, but she's very quick. And she saw him before I had a chance to do anything, and with no prompting, she looked up and she said, "Thank you for taking care of us." Little Shai Shai has figured out that she needs to be protected in the synagogue. She looks across the street at the large church. There's no guard there. There's no armed policeman. There's no one checking identity as she enters. Now she knows, she's learned, she needs to be protected. My hope for my little friend and for my student is that as they go through life, as Shai Shai grows up, as he emerges into his adult life, they will know that being a Jew is about so much more than just being a victim. As Shai Shai wends her way through life, My prayer is her affirmation of her Jewish identity will be rooted not in Jew as object, what is done to Jews, but in Jew as subject, what Jews do. She'll be aware of anti-Semitism, as my student is. But my prayer is that they will always embrace their tradition because of its wisdoms, its teachings, how much it has given to the world. May she and he embrace it because it is theirs. May you embrace it because it is yours. May we all embrace it because it is ours. V'chein yehi ratzon, and so may it come to be. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.